Hi, and welcome back. It's been too long. Negative commandment number 7. It is a negative commandment not to go out on the Sabbath beyond the Sabbath limit. Sabbath limit? We'll talk about it. There's a good reason why you're not familiar with Sabbath limit if you haven't heard of it before. The Hebrew is Tchum Shabbos, the boundary of Shabbos. Let's take a look inside. It is a negative commandment not to go out on the Sabbath beyond the Sabbath limit. For Scripture says, let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. This means that if one goes outside the city or town, even 1 cubit more than 12 mills, the distance corresponding to the length of the Israelite camp in the wilderness, he is to receive whiplashes, which sound worse than lashes, but lashes, by the law of the Torah. Whoever goes out beyond 2,000 cubits, which is the area of open land about the town or city, is to be punished with whiplashes of disobedience. Whiplashes of disobedience tells you it's a rabbinic commandment. This is the view of Rav Isaac Alfasi and Rambam, Maimonides. But there are many early authorities of blessed memory who hold that even if one walks many parsangs, that's a distance measure, Persian distance measure, parasangs, it is only a violation of the law of the sages and not a law of the Torah. The 2,000 cubits are reckoned as square cubits so as to gain the extra distance to the corners. Within the city, it is permissible to walk through all of it, even if it is very large. This is enforced everywhere and every time for both man and woman. Okay, the reason you haven't heard about Tchum Shabbos is that we live in cities. And until you get to the boundary of the city, you can't get beyond the Tchum. So the Tchum is a measure of distance outside of the city which a person can't go. But again, the entire city, as long as you're in the city, you're okay. So if you're walking in Suffern, Montebello, Spring Valley, Muncie, I don't know where, all of those places you can walk and walk and walk and you won't violate the Sabbath boundary. However, if you get to Kakiat Park and you start to walk up the mountain, you will violate the Sabbath boundary because you've already left the town limits. You've left where the houses are. So basically you have 2,000 cubits, which is 3,000 feet, which is 1,000 yards, which is about 2/3 of a mile. You've got about that much outside of the city. Again, generally we haven't heard about this because we all live in the city. So why would we know about it? I will tell you that it came up practically for me in 2 situations. Number 1, in summer camp, because once you leave the camp, you're out in the forest, basically. So that's where it came up. It also came up, interestingly, I was offered a position. My last year before I got married, my last Pesach before I got married, I was offered a position to do the Seders at Rikers Island. So I went to visit Rikers Island. I'm never going back voluntarily, that's for sure. I met some very, very awful, scary people. It was a terrible experience, but the reason why Tchum became relevant was because I wanted to be able to stay in Queens and walk to Rikers Island for the services. I didn't want to stay in Rikers Island in the infirmary overnight. That wasn't for me. So we measured it and it was too far. It was outside the Tchum. We even looked to see maybe there's like a guardhouse on the bridge that would allow us to start the Tchum again, to start the measurement again. No such luck. So fortunately for me, I could not be the rabbi at Rikers Island for that Pesach. A friend of mine did it and actually wrote it up. His name is Robbie Berman, who is the executive director, I think, of the Halachic Organ Donors Society. He wrote up the story because he went with a friend of his and they did the gig and they had a great time. Me, this is no for me. Rikers Island is not for me. All right. Anyway, that's the mitzvah. So we will continue next time with negative commandment number 8. Negative commandment number 8 begins a string of 11 commandments that are basically about idolatry. Okay, if you want to know how serious the Torah takes idolatry, there are 11 negative commandments against idolatry. We'll start on those next time. Have a good day.